Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're getting into the real architecture of personal change. How does it actually work? We're going to map out a clear path, and we're doing it by blending two amazing guides. One is a playbook for getting through setbacks, and the other is a framework for becoming who you're meant to be. Let's get started. And the journey really starts right here. With this quote, it just grounds the whole conversation in empathy, doesn't it? It reminds us that real, deep change, it doesn't come from being perfect. Nope. It comes from struggle. It comes from being a fellow traveler, someone who gets what it's like to stumble, to fall, and, crucially, what it takes to get back on your feet. Okay, so first things first, we have got to change how we think about setbacks. Completely reframe it. This is huge in recovery, obviously, but honestly, it applies to any big change you're trying to make in your life. It's all about shifting your mindset away from "I failed" and towards "this is part of the process." And check this out, because this is a really important distinction. There's a difference between a lapse, a brief slip up, and a full-on relapse, which is going all the way back to the old ways. But here's the most important part, the real takeaway. Neither one is a moral failure. It's not about you being bad. A relapse is just a sign, an indicator that the plan you have isn't working perfectly. It needs an adjustment. Think of it like data, not a disaster. It's just information. And this really brings us to a huge choice, one that's kind of at the core of this whole thing. Look at your life. Are you trying to control everything, just white-knuckling your way through, trying to force every outcome? Or are you choosing to surrender? And let's be clear, surrender doesn't mean giving up, not at all. It means you purposefully let go of the outcome while still being totally committed to taking the right actions. It's like, are you going to fight the river, or are you going to learn how to steer the boat? So, getting the mindset right is absolutely key. But that's not enough on its own. We also need a practical, like an early warning system. And that's exactly what understanding the stages of relapse gives us. It shows us that a slip, a fall, it doesn't just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, this lays it out perfectly. A relapse is not a single moment in time. It's a process, a progression through three very distinct stages: emotional, then mental, and only then does it become physical. And get this, the warning signs can start showing up weeks, sometimes months, before any action is taken. So, what are we looking for?
Okay, stage one, emotional relapse. And this is the tricky one, right? Because at this point, you're not even thinking about using or going back to that old habit. Not consciously anyway. But your behaviors, your emotions, they're laying the groundwork. You start bottling things up, pulling away from people. Maybe your self-care goes out the window. It's like the silent, invisible setup for the next stage. And that leads right into stage two, mental relapse. Now it's a war inside your head. It's this total tug of war. Part of you is like, no, I want to stay on this new path. But another part of you, it's starting to fantasize about the past. It's downplaying how bad things were, maybe even thinking, well, just one time wouldn't hurt. The fight has officially moved into your mind. And finally, we get to stage three, the physical relapse. This is the action itself. And it so often starts with what feels like a tiny thing, right? A single lapse. But that can snowball so fast into totally uncontrolled behavior. And you're left feeling like you've lost all control. This is why spotting stages 1 and 2 is everything. That's where you have the power to stop this chain reaction. Okay, so knowing those warning signs, that's our defense. It's super powerful, but you can't win a game just playing defense, right? You can't build a new life just by avoiding the old one. You need an offense, a proactive game plan for building the life you actually want. And that's where having a clear framework for change comes in. This is our playbook. And here we are again at another one of those core choices. Is your life governed by fate? Do you feel like you're just a character in a script that's already been written with no real say in what happens? Or are you grabbing the pen and writing your own destiny, actively creating your path through the choices you make day in and day out? This framework, this is the guide to becoming the author of your own story. So let's look at the first few steps on this path, using the adrenaline framework. First, you activate. This is where you just make a conscious decision to look the problems straight in the eye. No more hiding. Then you demonstrate. You turn that decision into action, day after day. You become living proof of your own commitment. And then you recreate. This is where you surrender to the new way of being, especially in those moments when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to go back to what's familiar. All right, you can't go on a journey without the right gear, right? So now we're going to build our toolkit.
We're going to pull the best strategies from both of these guides to create a really solid defense against those setbacks, but also a powerful offense to keep moving forward. First up in the toolkit, you've got to know the battlefield. The risks, they come from two different places. You've got your internal world, that's everything going on inside your head, your stress, your emotions, how you feel about yourself. And then you have the external world, the people you hang out with, the places you go, all those outside pressures. You need a plan for both. You can't just focus on one. So what's the antidote to all that risk? Well, it turns out the best defense is to actively build up your resources, your protective shields. Some researchers call it your recovery factor or personal social capital. But think of it this way. It's not just about dodging bullets. It's about building up your armor. Things like self-esteem, hope, a real community of people who have your back. The more of that you build, the safer you are. Okay, so how do we actually build those things? Well, one awesome tool is something called a spiritual action plan, or SAP for short. And don't get hung up on the word spiritual. It doesn't have to be religious. It's just about connecting with what truly matters to you. This plan is how you take a big, fuzzy goal like, I want to be better, and you turn it into small, specific daily actions. This is where the ideas become real. And what I love about the SAAP is how simple it is. Just 3 parts. 1, you name the old habit. Let's say, when I get stressed, I shut everyone out. 2, you define a new, super specific action. Instead, I will call my friend Sarah. And 3, this is key, you schedule it. You decide when you'll do it. The minute I walk in the door from work and feel that stress, I will call Sarah before I do anything else. See? It goes from being a nice idea to a concrete plan. All right, so we've reframed the problem. We've got our early warning system down. We've even built a toolkit. But there's one last boss battle, a huge obstacle we have to talk about. And frankly, this is often the toughest one, because this enemy, it lives inside our own heads. And that obstacle is self-stigma. It's that nasty little voice in your head, the one that takes all the worst stereotypes and applies them directly to you. It creates what researchers call the why try effect. You know that voice. It's the one whispering, why are you even trying? You're not good enough. You can't do this. You know you're just going to fail again anyway. It's absolutely crushing. So how in the world do you fight a voice like that? Well, this is it. This is the bedrock for any real, lasting change. The antidote isn't just gritting your teeth and having more willpower. No, it's about intentionally, actively building a strong and, this is so important, compassionate sense of your own worth. That is your ultimate shield. And that right there brings everything we've talked about full circle. Remember that step, demonstrate? This is what it's all about. The goal isn't just to stop doing something bad. The real goal, the real win, is to become something good, to become living proof, first to yourself and then to the world, that real, deep, lasting change isn't just some fairy tale. It is absolutely possible. So we're not going to end this with a neat little conclusion. We're going to end it with an invitation, a starting line for you. Everything we've covered, reframing the journey, spotting the signs, building your toolkit, fighting that inner critic, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful question. Your story isn't over. Not by a long shot. The next chapter is waiting. So, who will you decide to become?